Dude,
Happy Tuesday.
awesome timing on the intro music there, buddy. And yeah, happy Tuesday. How
Yeah,
about it? We took the day off yesterday, Josh. I was working through the day yesterday. I was like, I miss my buddy Josh. I hope
dude.
he's doing good. Does
I
Josh
I
think about me when we're not together?
I got to tell you, I did think about you, but I didn't miss you, and I'm sorry. And it wasn't because I don't like you, but I was down in Mount Gretna at Mount
Yep.
Gretna Lake. That place is so awesome. I got
Yeah.
three new kids. It's such a great place to to spend the day in the middle of the summer. It's so awesome.
I
Um,
always say that if Mount Gretna was closer, I would just live there. And
oh
if
yeah,
Mount Gretna was further away, I would vacation there. But so it's like, it's
I know. It's one of those weird distances
right.
that are really tough. But so be it. It is what it is. I got a little bit of a late start here today, so it's a little bit. We got a little craziness going on. So Judah, why
Who
don't
are we? Let's do
yeah,
show intro
exactly.
first, Josh, right here at
All
the
right.
top of the show.
Judah,
Go.
welcome to the Build and Grow with Real Estate Show. We come to you live every day at noon, Monday through Friday, and typically Monday through Friday we talk about we'll get into education. We'll dive into things that we've done personally, ways that we've invested, and ways that you can implement these strategies into your investing career.
Actionable content for realtors
Exactly.
and real estate investors.
Exactly. Every Thursday, or most Thursdays, we have on a guest that is relevant to our content. And then on Fridays, we talk about relevant news and content. Um, my name is Josh Weidman. I am a hard money lender right here in central Pennsylvania. We have 4 offices around the tri-state, I guess. We are a hard money lender. So if you're looking to fund your next project here in Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, or Delaware, we can help. We are a direct lender and not a broker, which means that we can fund your loan. We can underwrite your loan the same day you contact us, and we can fund your loan within 24 hours of getting an application. So that's a big deal. If you're looking to fund your next project, give me a call. I need some basic information. We're all about, low red tape, and we can be ready to close really quickly. Judah, my co-host, is go ahead.
I was going to say, wow, you sounded like you were about to do that for me. My name is Judah Hoover. I am an executive with Slate House Group. We are a full service real estate company. So we want to help you list real estate. We want to help you buy real estate. We want to help you manage real estate. Right
Yep.
now, the biggest need that this market has is more listings. If you have any inclination at all whatsoever that you would like to sell your house, please give me a call and let's talk about what we could get it listed for. The market demands listings right now. And if you have any thoughts about listing your house, I would love to talk with you because it is a very, very hot seller's market. And we should at least explore those options.
Awesome. So Judah, I mean, the long weekend. What'd you do this weekend? What'd you do for the 4th of July?
I got to tell you, man, I got together with some friends, had a pretty quiet 4th of July. Typically, my 4th of July is my favorite holiday. I get together with friends and family for a huge buffet and setting off thousands of dollars worth of illegal fireworks. 2 things. Illegal fireworks are no longer nearly as illegal as what they once were. And also, getting together with friends and family is more illegal than what it used to be. So,
Wow.
for 2 reasons, that really didn't happen this year.
Oh, so no illegal fireworks and no family. You just sat at home and
I mean, I kind of got together with some people, and did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But yeah, basically did a whole lot of not much.
So I saw some really interesting COVID news. You brought up COVID. I saw some really interesting COVID news late Friday. I don't know if you picked up on this, but the World Health Organization came out on Friday and made a pretty amazing statement. And that is, if you are not actively showing symptoms, if you're not symptomatic, the likelihood of you transmitting COVID, even if you have the infection, even if it's in your body, the chances of you transmitting COVID-19 to another individual is significantly below 1%. It's
Right.
very, very, very unlikely. So interesting.
Challenge there is, symptomatic is different for all kinds of different people. Here's a gross little stat for you. My head produces more juices than the average person.
Wow, that's great.
So what looks like a runny nose for the average person is actually just how my nose are. If I'm outside and there's like just the slightest bit of breeze, it
Yeah,
looks like I'm crying. My eyes just start watering and stuff like that. So symptomatic, it would be an interesting term to define there, especially since partially symptomatic would be running a fever or things like that, and you can pretty much break any fever that's not scarlet fever with 2 or 3 Tylenols.
yeah,
So there's a lot to unpack there and take into consideration. But the good
sure.
news is this is much less infectious than what we had otherwise thought or been led to believe.
Well, and one of the things that I thought was kind of cool, so I have we go to the beach every year with my in-laws, and they're in the most sensitive and the most problematic group with the highest propensity for.
Highest risk category.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep.
So we were kind of debating: are we going to cancel this short trip this year, or are we going to go anyway? What are we going to do? Are we all going to go and get tested and see? I think that this opens up a really great window for people that have had those types of concerns, right? Where you're uncertain that, like, am I going to put these loved ones at risk by being in the same room with them, even though I'm not sick? Like, even though I'm not sick, I may have come in contact, whatever. If you are not sick and are not symptomatic, it sounds like, maybe you can get together with the people that you care about, even if they're in a high risk group. So that's a positive outcome.
Absolutely. Yep. And I think that moving forward, we're going to see more uh, and more gatherings and things like that happen. So
Sure. Great.
um, let's transition into content here. This week, we're going to be talking about a favorite topic of mine
Yep.
called Subject to. And it is called Subject to because what you're doing is buying the real estate subject to the underlying mortgage. I can continue babble while Josh tries to bring up
I
the slide
know.
as we go through this.
Yeah. All
Ah,
right.
there
Yeah,
we go.
there we go. Perfect. Yeah, go ahead. So
So yeah,
subject.
so we're just gonna talk about this is an introduction today here to understanding the concept and then also the application. I think that now is an awesome time with interest rates being as low as they are. This is by and large my favorite way of investing for a number of reasons that we will talk about as we get into the content.
Well, so Judah, one of the things that I wanted to bring up with this, and you pointed this out to me with some of the changes that have gone into effect with the new PAR contract, right? That allows you to take exemptions to the title policy. And I never even thought about the idea of subject to financing. But with these ridiculously low rates, it provides the opportunity to make an MLS offer subject to the existing financing and moving forward on somebody that has a great interest rates. And really, it makes a lot of sense with these interest rates. If we see a jump of 3 or 4%, if we're back into the 5 and 6 and 7% interest rate category on a 30-year fixed, that changes the monthly payment and really changes the value. Go ahead.
That's crazy how low interest rates are, right?
Yeah.
That a jump of 3% only puts us back into the 5 and 6 category.
I know exactly.
So I think that what you're going to see moving forward is houses that have a great interest rate on them are
Yep.
going to potentially be more valuable than houses that don't. So here's what we need to talk about right from the beginning of the show, because a lot of people, if they've never been a homeowner, or even if they are a homeowner, they don't understand the difference between a note and a mortgage, and then there's also a thing called a deed. So the note is the promise to repay, and that's over here. So if I go to Josh and I say, Josh, lend me $100,000
Yep.
to buy a house. Well, let's just say, Josh, give me $100,000. He's going to say, okay, well, Judah, how are you going to pay me back? I'll say, I'll pay you back, $1,000 a month at 10% interest, and we'll stretch that out over XYZ term. He's going to say, okay, well, geez, that sounds complicated. Let's write that down so that
Right.
we can both agree on it and we both understand what those terms of the loan are.
Yeah.
We do that for credit cards. We do that for cars. We do that for all kinds of things. So a note is just, and it's a promise to repay. It's saying that I am obligated. That yes, I really did get $100,000. Yes, I really did get it from Josh. Yes, I really did agree to pay it back in these terms. That is what is spelled out in the note. On the other side of the equation is a deed. And the deed is what actually says who officially owns the property in Pennsylvania and the rest of the U.S. How much they paid for it and when they paid for it. Those are the big three things. Well, a fourth thing is an actual description of the property. So a deed has on it the legal description and a common description known as an address. How much the property was bought for, what actual date it transacted from person A to person B, and who is the current owner of the property. So when you buy a car, the lender holds the title to the car. When you buy a house, you still own the house and you still own the deed, but there's something that comes in between those two things, and it is a mortgage. And a mortgage is a document that says, hey, beware, everybody. Judah owns 123 Main Street. But just in case he tries to sell you 123 Main Street, we want you to know that there's been a promise to repay some money leaned against 123 Main Street to Josh Weidman.
That's right.
And if there's not what's called a satisfaction piece satisfying this mortgage, Judah still owes some amount of money to Josh Weidman. And if you buy 123 Main Street from Judah, Josh has a legal right to come and take part of the equity from this house. So
the one thing to think about with both of these documents, and that's important, if you've ever bought a property, whether it's your own property or you've used a bank to finance, an investment property, the note is the humongous, gigantic stack of page after page after page after page of document that says, if you blow your nose too hard in the back bedroom, then there's going to be a late fee associated with it. Or, it details, it's got all of the legal mumbo jumbo. It's got all of the regulatory notes. It's got all of the depth of, every little bit of the transaction. Whereas the mortgage, it's meant to just have people say, oh, look, there's a lien here.
Right.
It's not going to give you all of the information. Sometimes it'll list how long the term is, or right, the type of mortgage or something like that, or I'm sorry, the type of note, but it's often not going to give you a lot of information on the loan itself.
Right. 4 pages of the term get recorded. 4 pages of the note, get recorded. And the mortgage is about 30 pages, but the whole lending package is, like Josh said, about 150 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
But only 4 pages get recorded, the promissory note. And people say they make their mortgage payment, which is funny because on the mortgage, there are no payment terms spelled out. Yep. All of that is contained within the note. So that's just very important data to understand right up front, the difference between mortgage, note, and deed. Josh, what's our next slide?
All right. So this is kind of understanding some of the major differences in the process of how things work, right? With a traditional sale, Judah goes to sell his house. I'll go to sell my house. I'm going to call Judah to list it. Judah comes out. He takes a bunch of pictures, puts it on the MLS. And then Jonna, she reaches out to Judy. She says, I really like this property. I'd like to go and see it. She goes out, looks at it. Let's make an offer. We go under contract. And then from there, she's going to go out and get her own mortgage, right? She's going to go to her own bank, her own lender, go through the application process, get approved. And in the meantime, we're doing title work, we're doing inspections, all that kind of stuff. And we get to the point where we're going to settlement. She's going to pay me for the house, and let's say it's $100,000. Well, I got a $75,000 mortgage on the house, right? So my mortgage has to get paid off. She gets a mortgage for $100,000 that she signs off on. I walk away after paying Judah, with 10 cents in my pocket, or whatever the net proceeds are, right? And then Jonah takes the title to the property, and her mortgage gets recorded against the property, and we all go on with life.
Correct.
In comparison, tell us about a subject to.
So a subject to is different because what would happen in a subject to is the Judah role there, the realtor role wouldn't exist. Typically, what happens is Jana, as an investor, finds Josh somehow through marketing that we have talked about on this show. And Jana says, hey, you can just deed the property over to me.
Yep.
And you sign the deed over to me. I now own, she now owns the property. Josh still technically is obligated to that note payment, that mortgage payment. However, Jana wants to make sure that that payment is made too, because otherwise she loses her control of the property, and she currently owns the property. So usually you have to be a motivated seller, but also usually you have to be a pretty motivated seller to accept 60 cents or 50 cents or 30 cents on the dollar for a real estate transaction anyway. The reason I like subject to is because let's say you have a $100,000 house that there's a $95,000 mortgage against it. Most wholesalers, most cash buyers are going to say, oh, I can't do this. Thanks. Bye. Have a nice day. So sorry about your divorce. Good luck to you. Most times, most sellers, even if they owe, let's say they owe $60,000 on the house, but they're not super motivated. And if a cash buyer can't get them to agree to take 60 cents on the dollar, they don't have other tools that they could do. Whereas I could say to somebody, let me take over the payments on that $60,000 mortgage and let me give you some cash, or let me give you a seller carried second, or let me do other things in order to make that work. So what I like about a subject to is, number one, there's more housing stock out there that it applies to. So because you need equity rich properties, if you're going to buy properties for a whole lot of cash, you don't need as equity rich of properties. Number two, the sellers don't necessarily need to be as motivated to, do a deal with you, because they're not, it's not like, they're just taking pennies on the dollar. What they're accepting in trade for their house is much closer to the value of the house. So there's a number of benefits there.
Well, so I want to make an asterisk here, and I want to
Yep.
throw an asterisk into the conversation. One thing that's really important to understand about a subject to purchase is that you run into the same types of challenges dealing with tenants and rent to own buyers as you would in a regular rental market. And what that means is, with A-class properties, there's almost no problems. There's almost never an interruption in rent payment. There's almost never an eviction. On the lower end of properties, you will have a decent amount of evictions. You will have challenges collecting rent, and the tenant's ability to pay is going to dictate your income on those properties. And so, typically speaking, and I think Judah would agree with me, if you're going to go down this road and you want to use subject to as a strategy to either build a rental portfolio or buy your own house or whatever the case might be, you have to realize the risks. And that, ideally speaking, you want to look at properties that have the least amount of risk, and in areas that are going to be median type home prices to, higher end type home prices, that are going to be the most attractive to the most amount of people that have the willingness and ability to perform on any kind of agreement that you have with them. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. One of the things that I love about subject to is the fact that you are dealing with mostly Class A and Class B properties.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenges are different. There are still challenges and problems associated with them, but the challenges are the type of problems that I want. Ron LeGrand, it amazes me. So I run a real estate investors club, and I have about 100 people in a room once a month when we're not in COVID times. So, and I used to always ask people, hey, who here has heard of Ron LeGrand? And like 2 or 3 people raised their hand, which is just shocking to me because so much of what I know, I learned from Ron LeGrand or learned from people who learned from Ron LeGrand and is built on Ron LeGrand. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
Ron LeGrand is like the Zig Ziglar of motivational of real estate investing. You know what I mean?
Well, he's been around forever.
He's been around forever. Yeah, like Carlton Sheets is another good example. So Ron LeGrand always said that there's the pretty house market and the ugly house market. What I like about subject two, you can definitely do ugly subject twos. The subject two market is usually the pretty house market.
Yeah.
And I just have always liked that about it.
Well, I don't know if you know much about Ron LeGrand's backstory, but he didn't even start investing until he was in his mid-30s, and he made a decision. He's like looking around broke one day, and he's like, "I'm so sick of this. I got to do something different." And so he saw some infomercial or read something in a book, and he's like, "I'm just going to run after this and see what happens." And I mean, he's done thousands of transactions. He's helped thousands and thousands of people will be successful in real estate. And like, he's the kind of guy that he'll tell you 1,000 different ways to skin a cat, and he's done them all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing he's not willing to try or nothing he's not afraid of. All right, so Jeremy brings up a good question here. Under what circumstances would a mortgage company call the loan? And this is great way to finish up this, and we'll touch on this again tomorrow. What Jeremy's referring to is something that amazes me that there's so many legal scholars out there that know about this. It's called the due on sale clause.
Yep.
And every mortgage, right? That document in the middle says if this house is sold, the note must be paid off and satisfied. Well,
right.
Let me tell you something. There is no due on sale jail. Okay, so nothing negative and nothing bad happens if the due on sale clause is triggered. I also don't know. I actually do know one time where a due on sale clause has been triggered. It was on a commercial mortgage, and it was when somebody was transferring a property from their personal name into the name of an LLC, and they told the bank that they were doing it and asked for permission. Yep. And they told the bank that they were doing it and asked permission within like the first 45 days of the loan closing.
Yep.
So here's what you need to understand. If we've talked about servicers a lot on this program and the role that servicers play. Servicers and investors are two totally different things. The one who actually holds the debt and the person who services the debt are two different things. Both of them would likely have to find out that you sold the property without being paid off. And both of them would have to have a problem with it. And there's even some case law that says that they might not even at that point be able to do anything. So as long as you make your payments on time, it's going to be okay. Just think about it. What's the bank going to do? Let's say I work for Josh. Okay. Josh is, Josh runs a Blue Shirt Lending. And Josh is the manager there at Blue Shirt Lending. And I come to Josh one day and I say, "Hey, Josh, I've got a real problem." What's the problem? My problem is with Jeremy's loan with Judah. What's going on? Josh says. And I say, "Well, the payment." And he says, "Oh my gosh, is it late?" "Nope, it's on time." And Josh says, "Whoa, did they not pay the full amount?" And they say, "No, they paid the full amount." "Well, what's the issue?" "Well, this guy, Frank, made the payment. It's not even coming from Jeremy anymore." And Josh is going to say, "Hey, Judah, go worry about somebody who's not paying on time or not paying the full amount. Like, we don't care about checks we get for the right amount on the mortgage that, just so happens to be okay." The only way that Josh would even know that it's a problem is if he did a title search. And at that point, it would show that somebody else owns the loan or owns the house. But as long as the payments are on time, Josh has a fiduciary responsibility to the owner of the debt. They're going to say, "Well, wait, we still like making our arbitrage on this loan. We still like making it. Plus, if we force them to refinance, they're going to refinance at a lower rate than where we are right now. This loan is at 5%. We're issuing mortgages at 2.9% right now. Please don't piss them off." Thank them for paying the mortgage payment in full and on time every month. Don't you dare say anything to Jeremy about his loan.
Well, and Judah, here's the really interesting thing. I have like almost a case study. I had a client when I had turnkey business that had the exact same experience that you just described. On his very first property, he bought it in his personal name to get the best possible rates.
Right.
Decided for liability purposes, he was going to transfer it to his LLC. Paid a couple $1,000s to do that. And as soon as he calls up his mortgage company, lets him know, this is still me. At which point, a couple days later, he gets a notice in the mail that gives him 30 days to transfer it back into his name. And if they didn't do that, well, they were going to have a problem, and they could. The term that they use is, we could move forward with litigation. Yes. So, being the first property, the first deal he's done, he says, I'm transferring it back. This same person now has 14 or 15 homes, all deeded in the LLC. And up until whatever the personal mortgage limit is,
right,
all those properties are he bought in his personal name,
right,
transferred them to the LLC, just didn't tell anybody.
Right.
Guess how many foreclosures he has?
Zero.
Exactly. It's just, you're absolutely right. It's more of a function on, like, there's a letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Correct. A lot of the things that are in the terms of a loan agreement or in a note are there to protect in case things happen. And I mean, it's like, we were talking Friday about the Bill of Rights and some of the things that have happened over time. Look, if they want to foreclose on you, they want as many options as they can to either expedite the process or move into litigation as quickly as possible. And if the options are A, it's in the wrong name, B, there's no payment, or C, something else, and they say that, okay, it's going to take me 12 months to foreclose for non-payment, but they didn't transfer it into they transfer it into a different name, I can do that in 30 days. They're going with A.
Right. It's just like your employer. See, lenders like to have as many options as possible. Just like your boss wants as many options to fire you as possible. That's essentially what the employee handbook is. The employee handbook is, here's a list of all the ways we can fire you if we want to. Yeah. So there's all kinds of ways that a lender spells out rules that you have to follow, that if you break, what's going to happen. However, as long as you keep the main thing, which is make your payment on time and in the full amount, lenders don't care. Bankers care about two things: 4:30 and Friday. And those are basically what bankers care about: 4:30 and Friday. And at 4:30 on a Friday, oh boy, there's not a whole lot else that they care about right at that point. So you just need to understand that as long as you are helping somebody out of a difficult situation, as long as you are saving them from problems and headaches and hassles that they are having, feel great, feel comfortable, move forward with confidence, because this is an excellent way to buy property and get paid money up front, get paid money while you hold it, and get paid money at the end. See, there's two main types of real estate that's out there. We're going to get into the minutia of how subject to works tomorrow. But there's usually real estate investing is flipping or buy and hold, or some iteration of those things. Like, for example, wholesaling is basically just flipping without actually being in the chain of title. It's still transactional, quick money, short money. Subject to is kind of a combination of those two. It's what I call the third way of real estate investing. It's not really buy and hold, and it's not really flipping. It's kind of both of those.
Yeah. There you go. All right. So we're gonna dig in tomorrow, right? We're gonna dig in tomorrow with a lot more detail, a lot more specific situations. We'll talk about how to market to these deals. We'll talk about how to negotiate. What are some of the things you're going to talk about, and we're going to be covering subject to for the rest of the week. Judas, you want to add anything?
No, I just want to say that what we're going to be doing tomorrow is going to be covering kind of like what the timeline.
Well, I'll finish up for Judah here and we'll get off the air, but we're gonna cover what the timeline looks like to give you an idea of how to, attract those deals and how to take it from beginning to end point. He's back. Dude.
What's up? I don't know if we had a Wi-Fi glitch here at the office or something like that. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the guys. It sounds like you were just saying that the timeline from beginning to end, because I think it's important to like understand, like if you're looking at a recipe, you're like, okay, what does the apple pie look like? Okay, now let's talk about how the filling is made and how the crust is made and how to put it together. So what we're going to talk about tomorrow is kind of the overview of what a subject to looks like, the 4 main steps involved, and then we're going to break down those 4 individual steps in greater detail.
Love it. All right, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to like and share. We'll be back here tomorrow at noon. Until then, have a great day. Take care, guys.
Hey, everybody.